It has been 2 weeks since the last episode of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime Season 3, but episode 15, which is titled The Audience, has finally returned with Milim joining in on the Labyrinth preparations and Mjourmiles' arrival in the Tempest Federation. The episode will also be focusing on the various inhabitants of the Great Jura Forest they'll be visiting to pay their respects to Rimuru. However, episode 15 probably has the most left out content so far for season 3, such as the origins of the normal dragons in the Tensura world, along with a minor subplot involving the Hobgoblin Gobemon that was completely skipped over. As usual, a spoiler warning for anyone that hasn't watched the episode yet or might find the cut content information I mentioned to be spoilers. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and share with your friends. With that said, episode 15 will be adapting from chapter 3 and 4 of the volume 8 light novel, continuing directly after episode 14 with the arrival of Milim, who was quite annoyed that Rimuru did not invite her to participate in the Labyrinth creation, but Valdra will interrupt their conversation and joined by Rimuru, who are both trying to dismiss her. I guess it's revenge for the time that Milim was gloating to Rimuru about having fun in Tempest back in season 1. And the following of Milim throwing a tantrum while arguing with Rimuru in the anime will happen in a similar fashion to the light novel, but they'll ultimately stop by Shuna, which technically makes her the most powerful character in Tempest because she was able to easily tame the two ancient demon lords. Nonetheless, after letting Milim have a cake, she was allowed to join in the Labyrinth project, and it was obvious that she was trying to escape from her duties based on her reaction when she was questioned about asking Frey for permission to be in Tempest, which pretty much went accordingly with the light novel. However, the explanation on the difference between a normal dragon and true dragon was completely removed from the episode. To explain, normal dragons are simply monsters more akin to giant lizards that carry a diluted likeness to the Star King dragon Valdra, and they're only called dragons due to the physical characteristics they share with true dragons. Also, normal dragons were able to exist because when the elemental dragon that Valdra gifted to Milim had died and transformed into a chaos dragon, its dragon factor would be shattered and spread throughout the world, where the pieces would then cause the birth of lesser dragons in areas with high magic concentrations. And for dragons born with more properties of the elemental dragon, they will become archdragons, and there were even some born with elemental powers such as earth, water, fire and wind. They were considered the strongest type of archdragons, and the sky dragon that Rimuru fought in season 1 was actually a degraded archdragon. Additionally, when archdragons are able to live for hundreds of years, they start to gain sentience and learn to acquire wisdom, which allows them to evolve into dragon lords, among the most powerful in the dragon race, being able to rival or even surpass the power of claimant level enemies. This also made them the ideal candidate to transform the terrain of the Labyrinth into what Rimuru desired, but Milim will interject in the light novel that it was difficult to capture a dragon lord because of their intelligence, so she plans on capturing archdragons with the desired elemental attributes, since it will be easier to just have the dragons consume the abundant magicals in the Labyrinth to make their nests, and have them evolve into dragon lords later instead. Not only that, Rimuru went on to explain which floors will be housing the respective dragon types, and this wasn't included into the episode as well, but basically, floor 96 will be home to the Earth Dragon, floor 97 will be for the Wind Dragon, floor 98 will have the Ice Dragon, and floor 99 will house the Fire Dragon. After Milim left to catch the dragons, the episode doesn't include the part where Rimuru along with Rimuru and Valdra spent the next few days installing the remaining traps while also doing a thorough examination of all the floors. And during their inspection, Rimuru roughly explained the layout of each level, starting with the first floor, which was mainly a large open area for people to practice or test out their skills, since there are only low-level monsters here and no gimmicks. Then from the second to fifth floors, it was more of the same as the first, but from level 6 onwards, this is where traps will start to appear, and after they made it to level 10, you'll be facing a floor boss, although Rimuru still hasn't found the right monster to serve as the boss. Honestly, it was unfortunate the anime removed the origin of the dragons and more details about the Labyrinth because they're actually quite important to the overall world building of the series. Rimuru left the remaining preparations to them while he went back to town, where he would greet Mjourmiles, who has just arrived like we see in the anime. Then he along with Mjourmiles and Rigurd went around the town to check on the festival preparations, but when Rimuru informs Rigurd that Mjourmiles will be joining Tempest as the Minister of Finance once the festival is over, the anime doesn't provide the reason that was revealed in the light novel why Rigurd was so supportive of the idea. Essentially, Rigurd knew that even though Vesta has helped to increase the literacy rate in Tempest, they still lack the skills when it comes to accounting and writing, so having a professional merchant like Mjourmiles will definitely help improve the shortcomings of his fellow countrymen. Also, he thought the idea of showing others that even an outsider was able to earn a position in their government as long as they have the right experience and skills would be good publicity for them. Moving on, Rimuru brought Mjourmiles and his group to their new lodging, which was stated in the light novel to be newly built just for them, and their reaction would be the same as the light novel. Furthermore, the anime had greatly shortened the interaction between Rimuru and Gobemon, who was the Hobgoblin that was initially assigned to protect Mjourmiles, which would have taken place in episode 12 if the anime did not remove the subplot. But I digress. On their way over to Tempest, Mjourmiles' group was attacked by a basilisk sent by Viscount Kazakh, so Gobemon was forced to intervene, and during the fight, he was hit by the petrification attack of the creature, so he needed to amputate his arm, but ultimately, he was able to defeat the creature thanks to help from Bite and Mjourmiles' bodyguards. Rimuru would then offer to heal Gobemon's arm, but he refused because he was ashamed of needing help from others, so he was lectured by Rimuru for being stubborn and constantly wanting to be a lone ranger. That's why he healed Gobemon's arm and ordered him to permanently serve Mjourmiles so that he can learn to work with others. And it's here we learn what happened to Rimuru's previous sword, because he gifted it to Gobemon for successfully protecting Mjourmiles. And it would have been nice to see this play out in the anime, but I can understand the time constraints and why this subplot was removed. In any case, Rimuru would then have a meeting with his executives to discuss about the arrival of the various inhabitants of the Great Jura Forest in the city and how they accept them, because some were looking to gauge the strength of Rimuru while some wanted to pay their respects. And similar to what we see in the anime, Yuna suggested to hold an audience ceremony, so Rimuru agreed to the plan, but before they begin, there was a brief mention of why Diablo and Hakuro still haven't returned from the Farmer Kingdom, because they were still busy prepping Yom for his coronation, which will likely be covered in the upcoming episodes. That said, when the audience ceremony started, the anime manages to capture the tone for the setting that was described in the light novel, although the episode did leave out some of the inhabitants that greeted Rimuru, instead just showing them briefly. The most notable was the meeting with the rabbit folks, who were considered to be the weakest race in the Great Jura Forest, and the chieftain was actually quite nervous the entire time because his daughter was apparently running around Tempest, and he was afraid that she might offend the Demon Lord. However, Rimuru was more interested about the idea of a bunny girl than anything else, and it was truly a shame we did not get a cameo of Ramiya, because it would have been a nice Easter egg for fans of the spin-off story Ways of the Monster Nation. Nonetheless, the Rabbit Folk chieftain officially pledged their allegiance to Rimuru, and he was happy that the Demon Lord actually spoke to him directly while also praising his daughter. The next to offer their allegiance was the Lizardman chieftain Abiru, and even though the anime depicted him to still have the same appearance as season 1 after his naming, the light novel actually describes that he now looks more human, although he still possesses some physical features of a reptilian. And much of their interaction will play out the same way as the light novel, although it was super wholesome to see Rimuru calling out Gabiru to show Abiru how much his son has grown. Rimuru even tries signaling Gabiru to go with his father so that they can reconnect. However, the oblivious Gabiru did not get the hint, but Rigel was able to read the room and inform him of Rimuru's intentions. Honestly, it would have been nice to see the first day of the audience ceremony being expanded more in the episode, because it helps to put into perspective how many different races live in the Great Jura Forest, while also highlighting how talented Rigel was at dictating the flow of the entire event, interrupting when needed to either help ease the tension or maintaining the mood. Having said that, the last group for the day will be the Trians, but because they had difficulties travelling, Penny's sister Traya and Triss will be representing them, and once they congratulated Rimuru, they proceeded to present their issue. The Dryads along with the Trians apparently want to serve Ramirez, so Rimuru decided to bring them to personally ask her about the proposal. And not much can be said about the following sequence in the anime since it occurs in a similar way with the light novel, but it was still hilarious seeing how they suddenly become blinded once they see Ramirez, and having Beretta just in the background doing work while Trainee is pampering Ramirez really adds to the overall scene. Also, this wasn't mentioned in the episode, but with the Trians moving into the Labyrinth, their presence was able to help stabilize the interior by balancing the magical concentration, and they were placed on level 95 alongside the lycanthrope refugees. Additionally, more information about the Labyrinth was omitted from the anime, so to explain, Rimuru plans to turn level 91 into a warehouse for iron ores, level 92 into a processing factory to refine the ores into magic steel, level 93 will be a flower field where Apito along with Zagion can cultivate honey, and level 94 will be the honey processing plant. But I realized the anime is really trying to avoid showing or even mentioning them both. I just hope they won't forget them completely because they should have been introduced in season 2 and yet they still haven't appeared. On the second day, Rimuru will meet with the Gozu and Mezu tribes who were Minotaurs and Horsemen respectively, and they attended the ceremony because they hoped that the Demon Lord would side with one of them so that they can wipe out the others since they have been fighting for over 100 years. And much of their interaction here will be the same as the light novel, although the anime definitely made the sequence funnier as compared to what was described. But just then, a part of Shuna's barrier was broken, so Rimuru along with subordinates quickly headed towards the direction of the source, where they will be greeted by 3 brothers who have taken out the Yomigari and Kunai that engaged them in battle. Apparently, the eldest among the brothers was looking for the Demon Lord that took away his opportunity to kill Clayman, so when Rimuru was about to teach the brothers a lesson, Hyun interjected and volunteered to fight them, but he was worried because their magical levels were on par with the pre-awakened Clayman. However, Rimuru was forced to concede when even Benimaru was like, might as well let Hyun do whatever she wants. I guess he truly has given up on using logic when it comes to her. So they will change the venue to the Colosseum to avoid destroying the town, and I won't go into the fight itself, but the studio really did an amazing job with the overall sequence. The character movements felt smooth and precise while also getting the point across at how powerful Xion actually is. Again, Benimaru was able to drop another hilarious line with a dry delivery of his comments on the battle, and then having Xion misunderstanding Rimuru's reaction made the sequence so much better. Anyways, after the fight, the three brothers will reveal that Dagruel was their father, with Dagra being the oldest followed by Lyra and Debura being the youngest. The brothers proceeded to explain why they were in Tempest, which happened accordingly with the light novel, and Rimuru decided to simply put them under Xion because he actually hoped that her training as well as her cooking might be too much for the brothers to handle, so even if they ultimately choose to quit by themselves, Dagruel would not have a reason to get angry at Rimuru. With that, they left Xion to handle the three brothers and returned to the reception hall, where they were surprised to see the Gozu and Mezu tribes completely changing their tone once they saw Xion's fight. They proceeded to pledge their allegiance to Rimuru, so he finally acquired his dungeon bosses, and in the light novel, Rieger actually gave them a final warning that if they ever cause any issues for Rimuru, he will personally administer the punishment on them. But to continue, the last meeting for the day was with the Elven tribe that live inside the Great Jura Forest, and Rimuru would internally remark in the light novel how he was disappointed that none of them were females. In addition to that, there was a brief tangent in the light novel as well where Rimuru explains how the elves first came into existence. Basically, when spirits materialize or become fallen creatures, they'll turn into fairies and possess a body, but depending on the element associated with it, the race that was created will be different. For example, the earth element became dwarves, water element became mermaids, fire element became goblins or ogres, and wind element became elves. Furthermore, Rimuru also mentioned how the elves can normally live from 5 to 800 years depending on the amount of fairy blood flowing through their veins, and they apparently retain their youthful appearance until 20 years before their natural lifespan expires, where they will start to rapidly age until they die. It was for this reason elves lacked the desire to reproduce and why their fertility rate was so low. Back to the Elven delegation, the Elder actually wanted to request for Rimuru to resolve the issue involving the Gozu and Mezu tribes, but seeing they have sworn to not create any trouble for the other inhabitants in the forest, the elves were relieved, but since their home has been greatly damaged by the conflict, the Elder hoped that Rimuru could provide them with new accommodations. That was when Rimuru thought of letting them stay inside level 95 because they could assist Trainee and the others to manage the inns and shops, or help Apito and Zagion with the honey production, but again the anime seems to have avoided mentioning them for whatever reason. Regardless, Rimuru was more excited about the idea of creating his own special club similar to the Night Butterfly in Dwagon, because then he will have a place to escape from Shuna and the others when he needs some alone time, or a place to just fool around with Gopta and have private meetings with Mjourmiles. That said, the Elder agreed to Rimuru's proposal, but when he raised the issue about some of their people going missing, Rimuru was reminded of Viscount Kazakh, so he ordered Sower to investigate the matter, and with that, the second day ended. Now on the last day of the ceremony, Gelt had returned from his vacation, and Diablo along with Hakuro just finished with the coronation in the Farmer Kingdom as well. But before Rimuru could inquire about the details of the mission, he was getting ready for the audience ceremony because they'll be receiving a major VIP, the Tengu race of the Kosha Mountain. And we finally get the anime appearance of the Tengu Princess Momiji, so hopefully the next episode will be focusing on them. 私はここで働いてるからね。 Anyhow, that was my breakdown for episode 15, and it definitely had the most cut content as compared to the other episodes of the season so far, and I can understand the removal of some like the Gobemon subplot, but I still think the difference between the true dragons and normal dragons, along with showing more of the audience ceremony, should have been included. And not to mention the anime constantly avoiding the appearance of Apito and Zagion. However, I did enjoy the Xion fight with the three brothers, and it was still a solid episode despite the removed content. But what about you guys? What do you think about the removed content? And would you have liked to see them in the episode? Feel free to share your opinions and comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this cut content video, remember to leave a like. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe everyone.